Welcome to the Afterfish after show, the season finale. It's been a month, a little over a month, maybe.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy.
Wow, I feel pretty honored to be on the season finale. Usually you save the best guest for last.
I did. There we go. Nobody else hear that. I tried to thank everybody today, and of course I forgot Jen, and I love Jen with all my heart.
We love you.
I'm such an idiot. But anyway, so we're talking about Alpine Valley Night 3, close of the tour. There was a debut song, first one of the tour, which I was wondering if they were going to. Some strong performances. Like I just mentioned before we came on, I want you guys to think about expectations, because I hope to get back to that at the end. What we expect for an Alpine Tour closer. But the first thing I want to do is thank everyone who was tuned in. It means the world. Without you guys tuning in, we wouldn't be doing this, or we would be yelling into the void. So thank all of you. And we opened up with Landlady. I'm going to throw that to you, JW.
I mean, I think the Twitter space blew up as soon as Landlady dropped, because everybody's like, "Oh my God, that was the opener at the 7/14/2019, the Ruby Waves show, which was a great show. They had an Olivia's Pool in there. There were the Bust Outs, the Contact, obviously the Ruby Waves, the Death Don't Hurt.
The marriage proposal. I wonder if they got married, because then quarantine hit. Probably fucked them all up.
Right. Yeah, they probably had a postponed wedding. Just like Skinny did. Skinny just had his ceremony the other night.
Nice.
My co-host on
Skinny is your partner.
But I think that kind of, Kev, you started right off talking about expectations, man. So they throw that Landlady down, and it's like, all right, it's going to be maybe something like that. And they've only played 2 Landladies. That was the second one. They played it back in May. No, they played it, I think, Orange Beach.
It's the first this tour. Yeah.
Right. And then in AC last year they played it.
Right. So, I mean, right, Amanda, if you want to count it as, the summer tour, because it was Orange Beach.
I've been calling stats the year.
Yeah,
that's a good.
That way we can lump in Mexico and
sure. But I think that set the tone, and it was fun. I thought the pace was maybe a tad slower than how they play that when it's like in the middle of the punch.
She was drunk.
But the first look the first 3 tunes here. I thought the Runaway Jim they could have maybe jammed out a little bit more. I feel like they got a little bit impatient with that and wanted to get to the Divided, which was beautiful. But, I feel like those first 3 tunes kind of, maybe not the Runaway, but I feel like it started off filling that expectation that everybody had for a night 3 Alpine Valley, essentially the tour closer. Dix aside, we'll throw out some of those caveats, right? Like Dix is still coming and is like
I call Dix like an island tour thing or a Mexico thing. It's its own little beast. And but Landlady,
so I thought from that I was like, you know what? All right, here we go. And I am also like looking at the last 2 nights, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but like looking at the other 2 nights at Alpine, like I was like, all right, they're onto something here. This could be a special one. And
I see Landlady, and then I see Runaway, and I'll jump through with you and see Divided Sky. I'm like, this is like a 1992 set.
Yeah, old school, all 1.0s.
What do you think? I think they got a little bit with the jam in the gym there. What did you think?
I mean, that's a song. I don't think it's ever had a really big break, in terms of times played and gaps.
It's gotten a little bigger, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, overall, compared to a lot of other songs. So somehow, when that one kicks off, it does still feel special in some way. But I just think, it was right around 7 minutes long. Of course, I'm kind of wanting to see where they're going to go with it. Now, was I mad about Divided coming up? No, of course not. I was like, okay, we're going to go here. Where does that leave the rest of the set? And I almost wonder, like, what was it like trying to figure out what they were going to do after that?
Do we
I
know
did
if
think
they
the
hit
Divided. I do think, Amanda, to your point, like I think the Divided was maybe a couple of songs too early in the first set.
what's the sun setting? Do we know if the sun was actually setting? Because I've seen, like in Merriweather one year, they busted out a mid-set Divided Sky just to catch the sun going down
Right.
through the trees. You know,
I don't know. I'm sure
No
the
idea.
people were more concerned with trying to not fall down on the lawn there.
I thought that the Divided Sky was. I might get shot for this, but pedestrian. It was kind of like they went almost like they were going through the motions, like they were tired, like they've done 23 or however many shows they've done this tour.
Yeah. I would say it's like traditional, you know, it's kind of how I was thinking about it, which is okay. You know, I hear it. I'm feeling it. I'm still really amped to see what comes next, right? Because it's divided still.
Yeah. I mean, it is still Divided Sky, but Divided Sky, like, I feel, especially recently, you know, if you want to call it 4.0, like the Divided Skies, it's Phish canon, so everybody loves it and enjoys it for that. But I don't really feel like there's much divergence from one version of it to another. They play it very well. You know, you love it when they hit the peaks and stuff like that. The thing that I really liked about this Divided Sky was that Trey's ego pause was only a minute and 10 seconds. And my wife was like, "Are you going to time it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got to mention that, however long."
Right.
Oh, that's good. I mean, but you know what? Maybe that's why in my mind, in the last little bit, I tend to go back to the Beacon Run, which I know is not what we're here to talk about.
Right.
That Divided Sky
was fantastic.
Is probably my all-time favorite. And maybe it's because it was just so different. Maybe it was just hitting different pieces of what I was, you know, going for. So
my thing with Divided Sky is, since it never does diverge from what it is, then it becomes a matter of how well did they play it, which I'm not really a fan of, even though I'm probably going to mention how well did they play it coming up. Spoiler alert. But I don't know. It is what it is. It was great, and it's one of those in the moment songs for me. If I'm there and they're playing Divided Sky, fuck yeah, this is so cool. When I'm sitting at home, I'm like, all right, like Amanda said, what's next? Hey, 46 Days. That's a fucking monster this time. It's, you know, I call it a workhorse. It gets played a lot. It seemed like it had some meat on the bones. Where are you with that, JW?
I mean, this is the highlight of the set for me, easily. And you know, they took it a little bit type 2, probably the last couple of minutes there. They really found kind of a real slinky groove that hit right after they left the formal part of the song. And it really felt like they wanted to get into that. You know, and that's one of the things that Skinny and I've talked about, is how they sometimes do these micro jams. So they might only play, you know, a 7 or an 8, maybe a 9-minute version of a tune. Here it's what, 10, I think. Right. I didn't get exact set timings down 10, here, but I was around 9-10 minutes. But the last 3 or 4 minutes of that thing, like, you can put that up against a lot of versions of 46 Days.
Love when they do that it's well thought through. They thought of it. I think that they go into it knowing we're going to put an extra 4 minutes into this song. I really believe that they auto beforehand and say, you know, Trey's like throwing it out. If 46 Days come up, I want to do, you know, maybe even say, hey, let's go into A or something. I can't tell by listening because I'm not a musician, but I just, some of that stuff is beautiful because I think it's rehearsed. I think that they've played with it over and over again, and that's why it works so well, as some of the meandering sometimes doesn't. It's hit or miss, you know.
And to your point, that was, I think, the 4th or 5th time it's been played in the last month. So like we were talking about on Friday, maybe they just get to that place where they have had that much experience with it and they got what they needed out of it. And they knew that, you know, I think about that too, when we're kind of at the end of this kind of long run of shows that they've had.
It's a monster. And then they went into one, they went into one that I think maybe they played once, maybe not even once. I think once this tour, Stealing Time.
Oh, yeah,
I'm a fan. It's
Jones
a very,
Beach.
It's a dark
That was a
song.
rough entry though, man. That was a little, I don't know, like, I don't like, right. It felt like Trey wanted to play it, and obviously I'm not hearing back. I don't know specifically what everybody else was doing, but Trey started to play the riff, and then it seemed like he was a little bit ahead of everybody else, and then he tried to slow down and let them catch up.
He didn't give it the time to breathe.
Right.
Yeah, I think think you're right about that.
Yeah.
I kind of
I-
wrote
I
down
am
like,
a-
was it an oops?
I am a pro. I am a pro on this song because it's very dark lyric to me. It's addiction. It's blank space where my mind should be. You know, that feeling of nothingness. It really, I dig it for the darkness of it, and I think that this whole run hasn't had enough dark, so it was a nice little pepper in the gumbo, so to speak.
I do real quick. I do have to interject here because when what was Stealing Time was on what Joy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when that came out, the band did like you order a CD and you get a T-shirt. So one of my favorite concert T-shirts going back to 2009 was the "I got a blank space where my mind should be" like written on the side, and that shirt actually helped me get my wife. So I do have a soft spot
You
in
hear
my
that,
heart
you're
for
like,
Stealing
yes.
Time. I'm like, yeah, you know. And that shirt now is like, it's like disintegrating, you know. I can't. It's
But you still have it.
but I still have.
I love
Just
it.
put it in glass on the wall behind you.
I might have to find some wall space.
That's your $1 million idea from me for tonight. Stealing Time, I guess it had a little bit of meat on it. I think Trey was having fun. Where were you with that, Amanda?
Yeah, so it actually felt longer to me than it was. However long it was, only a couple minutes, really. It just, I also like that song, and I identify with the, drudge of your everyday job, which obviously this is not it, right? And
Right.
like, is this what I've got? Cold green tea. But so I really think that I dig into that one right away. Obviously would have been cool, but I don't know if it's always necessarily a jam vehicle anyway. So I don't necessarily look for that one to be this like humongous, 20-minute opus. So I'm just stoked for it. Although maybe that entry point was a little whatever it was, because I know usually that's like an opener closer type position, and here it was kind of like right in the middle. So that
they don't usually seem Stealing Time, right? They start that from zero without.
It needs to have an intro, right?
It does, right? Because that first couple of notes is like it's impactful, and for that to come out of something, it was definitely awkward. I mean, I think that's what we saw here. It was definitely awkward.
I think that's where the set turned, because the rest of the set for me, I was like, oh. But Sugar Shack. So how do we think Trey did? Since I guess that's the joke, is that Trey can't play Sugar Shack. It sounded okay to me, but what the fuck do I know? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a song about syrup. I mean,
it's hard for me to bust on any lyrics, but it was definitely just a tempo turn down, like from that point on. And I don't know where they were thinking. Now I know we're not there yet, but I did have a slightly different opinion on Shade tonight than I normally do. Normally I'm like the jaded Northeastern girl. It's like no emotions. But
we can go to Shade, because I don't think there's much to say with Sugar Shack. Either Trey played it good or he didn't. And
I think the only thing to mention is that it was a debut. This was the first time they played it this year. Last time they played it was Hershey. I think night one of Hershey last year.
Oh, right. And I totally forgot that. Someone mentioned that to me, and I was like, really? Whoops. I think I was waiting in line. It was early in the set. I don't think I got until Axel that night, because they were complete idiots in Hershey.
Yeah, well, and there was like a weather situation.
Right. Yeah, somebody convinced us that it was going to be delayed start because it was rain, so we waited. And then by the time we got in, they were on stage already.
Yeah, that's a rookie move, bro.
That is a fucking rookie move.
Yeah, what year of Hershey? You could back that up if you wanted to, like a bit. No one would know.
Exactly. God help me. So, nice glass. Wow.
Thank you. I don't know. Bringing them up. It's a mason jar champagne glass. Yes,
wow.
yes.
That's pretty sweet.
Nice.
From an anniversary party many, many years ago for a friend, and they have survived a lot of moves.
That's pretty cool. So you had thoughts on Shade? You were feeling romantic tonight, or?
It's like my sentimental Trey kryptonite, that song. I was going to be like, no, I'm not into it, but like I'm really into it. I think for those kinds of songs, this one to me is just like so very heartfelt in a different kind of space, and it's just a pretty song. I mean, I know it came out of those writing sessions like the 2015 writing sessions, and there's some decent stuff going on. When it comes to Sigma Oasis songs, that one I like just because it's positive, but it's not quite as bubblegum. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. I get you. It's not saccharine. How about saccharine is a good word?
Yeah.
It's an SAT word.
It could be. But not really. Yeah, exactly.
It sticks in the back of my throat. Like if you eat too much chocolate and then you can't swallow, that's what shade is like for me. I had too much Sugar Shack and then they did shade and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think the issue here, and I think Shade is a beautiful song.
It is a beautiful song.
I will say this right off the top. There's not a song in the first set here that I don't like or I thought was offensive or anything like that. I thought, maybe stacking some of these songs together was probably I don't want to say downfall, but maybe the Achilles heel of this set. And the rough entry into Stealing Time from a nice 46 days, so that those first 4 tunes, like you're feeling pretty good. All right, yeah, they're jamming a little bit. They're gonna do
it. They're gonna do it.
Right. And then the Stealing Time, and then the other thing is you've got, Stealing Time's like 6 minutes, Sugar Shack 6 minutes, Shade 5 minutes, Halfway to the Moon. So you've got a few songs here where it's like, all right, if I get through this one, they'll do something, and then no, all right, I gotta get through this one.
Give me the dice back.
Now I love Halfway to the Moon. All of these songs, like Sugar Shack, I could, take or leave. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, Sugar Shack. But like all of these other tunes, there are like times and moments in shows where you're like, oh, this is perfect. This is a great song, great placement.
I got to hit the
fits
bathroom.
Well, right. Maybe you do. Maybe that's your spot. But to
I had
stack
expectations
4 of them up,
Yeah.
one right after another, like it felt like a really long time from that jam in 46 days to the jam and Everything's Right. And I think that was probably
I had
the big
expectations
issue
for
there.
Halfway to the Moon though after Merriweather that they did the jam out of it. I was like, is this going to become a vehicle now? Because like you're saying, we had the short Stealing, the short Sugar Shack, the short Shade. Boom. All right, Halfway to the Moon is going to be the jam.
Right.
All of a sudden.
No. You know what? For a second there, I was like, are they going to close the set with Halfway to the Moon? And then I was like, looking at the time, I was like, no, they still have like, they're going to fit
at least get a Golgi.
Some sort of 15, 12 minute. And so they did. They dropped it was a fun Everything's Right. It was
solid.
Whatever, 13 minutes. It was solid. And it kind of picked, I think, the morale up a little bit, after a little bit of a clunky, 4 songs there.
A lull.
Yeah. A lull is a good way to put it.
Yeah. And you've got that other, song now coming in that they've played. Well, in general, they play it so frequently, on average, like every 5 or 6 shows, and
something like that.
Yeah, you kind of know what you're going to get with it. I did forget where I was during part of that jam, though. Toward the end of it, it really felt to me like, okay, we're expanding on some things. And then the nanas came back, and I was like, okay.
I wonder if it's.
Do y'all remember back in the day when there were no nanas and Everything's Right? He just said, yeah, or whatever.
Jars you into wherever. Oh, I'm here.
Since he's had that vocal coach, he learned that. I feel like Phish has reached this point where some of these songs are going to become like Grateful Dead Cassidy was always 10 minutes long. It always had a jam in it in the same place, same kind of jam. I wonder if something like Everything's Right is going to become a set closer that will always be 10 to 12 minutes, but have a very similar jam and feel to it every time.
I don't know, because they're still doing a lot of things with Everything's Right. I mean, not to plug my own show, but we just talked about it, and Kev, you were there. We were at the show at the Anthem. October 1st, when it was, John's Fishman's Almost Right. It was one of my favorite shows of all last year, and they played a 30-minute Everything's Right to open the second set. That was ridiculous. And so I've had conversations with people like the band is going to jam the things that they like are having the most fun with at the time. And I
Yes.
feel like everything's right. Set Your Soul Free. These, you know, they are these kind of new monster jam vehicles that they put in, you know, prominent positions.
Because they're having fun with them.
Right. Because they can take them out and, you know, maybe they feel a little bit new or fresh for them
It's your
to
shiny new
explore.
toy.
Well,
You know?
and also I think,
but I think they also have a standardized version of those, which we saw here.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I think I was just to kind of follow with that. I think maybe compared to some of the more traditional kind of epics, those songs tend to be, I think, a little less complicated also just in terms of their composition. So that might make it more fun too. I mean, I wonder sometimes, like, is this
more
just
open-ended? You can take it a lot more different places than trying to throw something in Bowie, which is very structured or something.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Sure. And I'm not a musician, so
you know,
it all looks hard to me.
Just getting up there, like,
right?
Yeah, I do have an accordion somewhere. Maybe one day I will do a video playing accordion. So all right, we're at set break. I'm going to do my set break thing. Everybody out there, hi, breaking the fourth wall. Please go like, comment any of our stuff. Subscribe. See the little bell next to it. Hit that. Anytime we drop a video, you're going to get an annoying notification saying Wook Plus dropped the video. You want more updated information, go to Twitter or IG. We are at Wook Plus. Amanda, you have a show on Wednesday nights. You want to plug that?
Yeah, absolutely. So every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, the Barline Shift. That is my show on Homegrown Radio. It's on TuneIn. And if you head to my bio on any social media, you'll see the link there. Also post them all on Archive.
And JW, Stub Me Down, you want to tell us what's going on over there?
Yeah, man. So Stub Me Down, we're just a community podcast. It's me and my best friend Skinny. And basically what we do, we started during the pandemic. And the premise of the show is we pull old concert stubs that we've been to over the years. And we talk about the music, try and relive some of those shows. It was born out of not being able to go see shows in 2020. And
is it strictly Phish?
No. So we do like Phil and Friends. So when the hiatus happened and then the breakup, we were seeing a lot of Phil and Friends, the Q, Phil and Warren and Jimmy Herring. You know, we've done Government Mule. He is an old Deadhead, so he saw Grateful Dead from 87 to 95. So we try and pull a couple of Grateful Dead shows. He saw Jerry Band and stuff like that. We're Phish heavy because that's kind of where most of the shows we've seen have landed. But we just, we revisit some old shows. We bring in some people to talk about shows, and it's just an opportunity for him and I to spend time together. Nice. Something that we've always done. That's
but we all need. It's all about community.
It is 100%. And the other thing is, Kev, we just did a show. We did a Phil and Friends Hershey show from 2002 that we had completely forgotten about. And, we went back and listened to it. It was like a great show, like a Pride of Cucamonga and all sorts of crazy shit that they played that, the Grateful Dead never played. Right. So going back and revisiting shows that we've seen that we had forgotten about, that was a big thing.
The other day I was thinking, and we're going to go and totally make a left turn. The other day I was thinking about a Phil and Friends show that I saw at Constitution Hall sometime in the mid 2000s. Maybe it was earlier.
Might have been
but
earlier.
They did Blues for Allah.
Yes. And actually, they played a Willie Nelson song, Whiskey River.
Whiskey River
was the encore, or maybe it closed the first set. And yes, I was in the second row at that show.
Oh, nice. That was a fantastic show. All right, so we totally made a left turn. Tomorrow,
love Phil and Friends, though.
Yeah, but it's okay because it's Phil. I saw him earlier. I'll have to tell you all about that later. We've partnered with HF Pod for all this going through the whole summer, and tomorrow they have Justin Green, who's at Eurofish Wife, coming on for their final show, I guess. And next Wednesday at 9:00, it's going to be just the 4 Wook Plus guys. We're going to go over our thoughts on the tour. So yes, we are going to have Ghost Llama live. You are going to see him for the first time in years, almost. Actually, he did a couple of the recap shows while I was at Merriweather, but. So here we are at the second set, and energy, and I love them doing the alt band tunes, and Phish fans freaking out about it and how great this song is. And if you tried to get them to listen to that band,
oh yeah,
no way in hell.
Could be.
You know,
Oh,
it's funny. People, people love energy, but like, if people are going to be like lyrically snobbish, like, and the world is made of energy, like this one's
isn't
a
it?
little bit.
It's the Apples in Stereo, isn't that who did it, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
I
defer
believe
to
it's
somebody else.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it's the
Yeah.
Apples in
I think you're right.
Stereo. Which
Yeah,
I've listened
I
to
agree.
before, but I mean, that song never stood out to me. The song that stands out to me from them is something called Thank You that they sing in Japanese. Domo arigato, thanks for listening, which is just, it's weird. Anyway, another complete left turn. Amanda, what'd you think about the energy? Good spaces in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly been in that position as a set opener.
I think so. In the
Most
fall
of the
it was.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last fall.
So yeah, I mean, listen, I was actually very ready to just see what this set was going to be, and I'm totally cool with the way that it started. I think it kind of left us in a place where there are a lot of places they could go, from there, and I didn't expect a Jaboo, but I was really excited about that.
Yeah, I did not expect a Jaboo. And Trey has some new thing now where he can step into his primary mic and call the tune. So I was watching on the webcast and I saw him do that, and I'm like trying to read his lips. And then, you hear it. The seg into Jaboo was pretty good. And I thought that this Jaboo was pretty nice. I mean,
Top notch.
I think everybody that might have felt a little bit let down by what the first set was, you can't be too upset with how this second set started, at least musically. Now, if you don't like Jaboo as a tune, you can't really do much there. But I thought that the jam itself, like there were a couple times where honestly, I thought Trey was about to pull out of it, and they were going back to the formal chorus.
Right.
Again, I'm not a musician, but and then all of a sudden they kind of extended the jam again, and so I feel like they did that like a couple of times, and I was like, all right, cool, man, maybe a little bit more Jaboo. It definitely has that groove. Jaboo's a great groover, know.
Yeah, and I feel like I think it was at that point that the synth really first made an audible appearance in the show, just a little bit, and I'm thinking, okay, we could be going in a direction here. If they're going to be playing around and Paige is going to be doing some stuff, like, let's go, So I'm with David. I saw his comment a couple minutes ago about, a little bit of redemption. Just seemed like they were ready to kick it up a notch a little bit.
And they landed on a soul planet.
There you go.
The ocean is love, brother.
The ocean is love.
I bet I've negative tweeted about that song so many times. I'm like, I can't say anything.
I had a feeling it was coming, and somebody tweeted that a good jam's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fair enough. But it's an ebb and flow thing again. I mean, people love Soul Planet. You see people fucking getting down, and I guess if I'm there, I'm like, yeah, cool, Soul Planet. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, we're gonna get to a jam. What do we think of the jam?
It's a consistent jam vehicle. I thought this jam was fire, dude. I honestly, this beginning of the set, like I kind of felt like, all right. A friend was texting me. He's like, "Was the first set as lame as everybody's saying?" And I was like, "There was a lull." And I'm a little bit of a fluffer if you don't know me. I'm just so grateful that we get to do this, and like listen to the band. And there was a lull in the middle of the set, is probably as harsh as I'll be. But the Soul Planet comes in and I'm like, oh man, everybody's going to hate this. And I actually tweeted, breathe, everybody.
That was
everything is a vehicle.
I saw that. I actually wrote that down. I was like, that is so true.
And so, and look, maybe you don't like, the ocean is love and all that stuff, but just bear with us for a second, and then we'll blow your face off with a crazy jam, which I thought they did a really, I'm really excited to listen back to that jam. And you know what? I'll skip to 3 minutes in, or whatever. I'll just deal with it, like I'm from the beach, like the ocean is love. Never turn your back on the ocean, but the ocean is love.
So what do you think from the Jersey Shore there, Amanda?
Yeah, so my exact words were, I never thought I would say this, but I am so happy right now, just because I did feel like we started to get into a little bit of a darker space, just a bit there toward the end. And again, when you start building these layers on top of each other, you're hearing just some different sounds coming out of them. I just felt like there was a little more variety. It felt a little bit fresher. So for me, I was happy with it, even though I was like, haven't they played this, like 8
Didn't they
times
play it
already?
in AC?
They
They
played it
did,
like
yeah.
6
So I
shows
have
ago. Yeah, I
it
think
was
that
And
on
at
the
the
first night of
Man,
AC. So
and
you're
at
only
the
talking about
Man,
6 shows.
the Man, they played it because I was there.
I think one of the things you have to be very cognizant of with this tour is that after they hit probably 5 or 6 shows, like everything was fair game. As long as they didn't play it like the night before,
Right.
like pretty much everything was
But
on the
even 2 or
table.
3 nights has been okay. I think there was
Yeah,
a
I mean,
free
yeah,
that was
there.
only 2 nights apart.
Yeah, well, they played like the 30-minute monster, and then they had
Right.
like a more standard like 9-minute
Right.
version a couple nights later. But
Exactly.
I mean, the show gaps here in this set, the Soul Planet, I think was the Slave too was also
Really, Rift has been played that recently?
Rift. The last time they played
Great
Rift
Woods,
was Great Woods. Was
I
what
think.
was that? The second night of tour. So
Right. And what did we think of this Rift? It had a little bit of extra in it.
Felt like a runaway train at first.
It did.
And
Trey was not playing it right.
I feel like there was so much energy coming at it or something. And I'll be honest, I wasn't in the room. I could hear it, but I kind of came back. So I was like, is that me? It just felt a little bit like, okay, slow, just teeny bit down, and like, we're good, right? And they did.
It came from kind of a weird place. Like, honestly, like, when was the last time they played a second set Rift? I had to look that up.
I feel like
I
I've
made a
seen
note
one
of
at
it.
4.0 somewhere.
But it felt a little bit weird just because of the way the jam was in Soul Planet. It felt almost like a little herky-jerky to go into the Rift there. I mean, the Rift, it was a good version. It just, for me, it felt like, man, they dropped that in there.
They have been doing that
seemingly out of I don't even know. Like, it was
like
very oddly placed.
I feel like they've been doing that. Trey's been doing that so much, especially in the fourth quarters of sets. Whereas the fourth quarter of this set, I think he saved them from doing it. But they had the moment with Rift where maybe if they hadn't gone into Reba, which was something structured, and they had to move through, it might have ended up being one of those fourth quarters again where you're like, Trey is, I'm going to play a 6-minute simple. I don't know what I'm going to do,
That might have been it. I mean, I'm just quickly looking up stats on Rift, and like it is not a second. Like, it was in the second set of one show last summer, and then one show in 2019, and then you have to go back to 2014 to find it in a second set. So it definitely, that's.
Is it another one of those songs?
I think that was why it felt so weird. Was just like,
does that one need to start from zero, like we were saying before about Stealing Time? It needs to come in and start without, from zero, because of the way the.
No, I don't think so.
Because
I think they have melded that in the first set. Like, they can play a lot of things into that, like, kind of frantic beginning. Yeah. Again, I'm not a musician, so I don't know like what chords or keys would line up with going into a riff there, but
fucking make it work.
It definitely ain't Soul Planet, in my opinion.
Well, and I feel like the other one we talked about this, I was going to say this season, this tour, was Backward Down the Number Line, is another just tough one to try to kind of seamlessly merge your way into.
And that was the beauty last night.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So anything can happen. I think it's just a matter of like how prepared maybe.
I think Reba was a nice little anchor in the middle.
Reba was gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't feel like they missed a note. The drop was great. The composed part at one point, I felt like Mike started to kind of play a little bit of a deeper bass line, and then Trey was kind of picking up on that. And So that definitely caught my eye about, or caught my ear, I should say, about the Reba. And, it was definitely well placed there in the middle of the set. I mean, I think that carried the beginning of the set, and kind of connected the pieces towards, especially as they got into like the silliness of the second half of the set.
Right. Now, did they whistle? I feel like Trey started to whistle and then Paige started with the samples at the exact same moment.
Amanda, you weigh in on that first before.
So I feel like I've been asked this question before and I'm like, hey, great question. I think there was a little bit, but literally my mind just, I'm such a sucker for Martian monsters. So the second that I heard any little bit of something happening there, I'm like, oh, squirrel, just so I can tell you.
It was weird because it felt to me like they started Martian Monster and then, Trey wanted to do the whistling for Reba in Martian Monster as like, we're going to connect these things. But I don't know if it hit right. Like it was like, are they whistling? That's not Reba.
Yeah.
Is it Reba? It was weird to kind of tell.
It was strange. And that account on Twitter, did Reba whistle or whatever it is, fucking they're MIA. I guess they're having a meeting somewhere. So then we got a fucking Jimmy Reed tune. We got the tour debut finally. I didn't think that they were gonna bust one out, and it was, I guess, with Fishman's divorce in his rear view, he can make fun now.
He was definitely having some fun.
He was.
So they've been sound checking this. They just sound checked this a few times over this summer tour, right?
Oh, have they?
I think so. I think I saw somebody say that on Twitter.
Cool. Yeah, cool. I saw that, but I don't remember if it was what night that was, if it was tonight or something else. So,
and then I also saw somebody say something that they had heard, like right after Fishman, or while he was going through his divorce, and he did like an episode of the Aaron Path.
Oh, have you never heard that? Oh my God,
I haven't heard that.
And he was like,
he's like, this one goes out to my ex-wife's new boyfriend, right, and like. Yeah. And this, I think, was one of the songs that he played during that show.
That was a left field thing. Poor guy. Divorce sucks. If you guys have never been through it, let me tell you, you feel like you've failed the world and it's an ugly thing. Anyway, hold your head up, which is what you do when you have a divorce. And I guess that's the tour debut. Maybe it's a 4.0 debut.
It had been since 21. I actually had that in my notes as kind of a most likely to hear, haven't heard yet song. That is kind of
so. In my notes, I had it that they did it at the Cube at the Rock Lidditz.
In December.
Yeah. So I don't know if that counts. Right. Before that, it was 2019.
It was the Peterson show I was at. They did Terrapin because some guy had a sign.
But they also didn't do, and again, I would have to listen back, but they didn't, it wasn't like the full dun 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 dun, dun. Like it didn't feel like
they went back into a Martian monster.
They went back into the Martian monster, so it was like
kind of
that whole segment was weird, and then
we got Fishman on the marimba loomba or whatever the fuck that thing is. I'm like, every night I look at that and I'm like, they haul that shit around the country and he never touches it. And I think the past few nights they played it.
Like Zero would be playing it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He did.
The other night he busted it out. So all we have Scent of a Mule. If they do Scent of a Mule, they'll use it again. Maybe at Dick's. We'll see. Yeah. It was fun. I mean, what can you do with a Fishman tune? It's fun. I think it was a good choice. It's nice to see once in a while. I know some people were glad to see it disappear in the mid-90s.
Well, look, one of the things that you get with Phish is they get fishy, and like this is a part of it. The drummer wears a dress, he plays a vacuum, like he runs around the stage as the guitarist plays the song that he hates. Like it's right. You don't necessarily like look at it and you're like, oh man, that was the best part of the show. But like, have you been to a Phish show?
It was fun. It was fun.
I think it completely translated to the rest of the set with that possum. I mean, Trey was the Moses DeWitt, fucking yelling. Yeah. He was so fucking pumped for that. And it was a blazing fucking possum.
It was. Well, I think I caught Paige literally laughing like what the fuck? But like laughing that last little bit of Martian Monster, because it just sounded so out of whack and attitude. And it's like, I don't think anyone cares at this point. Like they're just having a good time. And honestly, that makes me so happy.
That makes it the best
Just
show.
silly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I mean, I said to somebody the other day, I was like, you know, you might not like the song selection or you know where they place something in a set, but if you look at those guys and they're up there and like Trey's like looking at Mike and turning around to Fish and they're all smiling and laughing, like if the band is having fun, like isn't that's the best part, you know? Like that translates through the music to us, whether we're like sitting on the couch or in the audience or like even like listening in your car the next day, man. Like that's the whole thing. If they're still up there having fun, and if they want to play Wave of Hope or you know whatever song over and over again, I never needed you like this before, because that's what they feel like towards us.
They're
like
shiny new toys. They're their new toys.
You know, like they send messages to us all the time. And
but they dug deep in the toy box for Slave. And Amanda, I'm going to let you go with this because I think you have some emotional attachments to this one.
I really do. I really do. Okay, we're at Slave. Cool. Just checking here. Yeah. So this had come up previously somewhere. I think I mentioned that I know this is a traditional type 1 song. It has not changed in a long time significantly. But there's something about those 4 chords and the build. And for me, it is the most singularly beautiful stretch of music that they play. But I did have an experience at Hampton 97 where I was positioned, and I can kind of close my eyes and just remember, I could see the whole crowd, the lights, you know, first big road trip I had ever really taken outside of like the area where, you know, I was from. And it just hit me how amazing this is. And every time I hear that song, it kind of gets me in that
night. Night is I wrote my ex-wife a double crown, which is 14 sonnets, but it originally started years before I finished it and gave it to her as 13 sonnets based on the 13 songs that night.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yes. All right. So that was weird. We ended up with again, subscribe, like, even though I took another left turn. Ring the bell, subscribe, comment. I will answer the comments. I'll seek you out, or Tim will. Tim's better in answering comments than I am. And then we got Waste, which I feel like is, for me, is their best ballad because it's more universal than Shade with another person, a lover. It's a community thing.
Is that why it's such a, you know, popular, enduring kind of encore type moment too? Because I was really thinking about that. Like maybe we can all just put ourselves in that song somewhere.
I think everybody. Yeah, I mean, like, I honestly, I think, you know, that's one of those things. Like they're sending a message to us. Like I think it's kind of a thank you. You know, like you fucking freaks are following us around. You know, come waste your time with me. I mean, I think it's you know, and how many Phish weddings have you been to? Phish fan weddings have you been to where, you know, we had come waste your time.
I had to do the meat stick at once.
I would love to see video of that.
But they played free for their Isle song, and I was like, why are you playing free? It's about killing your wife, dude. Do you even know what's going on with this? I mean, fucking weird. Their last name was, no, I'm not even going to say because I don't want to bring them into this. But I,
you know,
I
real
guess
quick, actually, if I could just interject, because I really appreciate Amanda's thoughts on Slave and how it kind of here, like in a specific position, listening to Slave and how that song builds. There's something so beautiful and like special about it. And so I had this period of time where I was actually chasing Slave, and it was not like a long time, but I had been hung up on the Twist Slave from Camden in 2000. Okay. And so I kept hearing them like it was going to come. They were going to do some sort of homage or reflection to that. And when they finally played Slave in Philly, I think it was 2015, at the Man, and they finally played it. Like, Slave is the only Phish song that probably has ever like brought me to tears, like in a moment like that. Like you've been
Nice.
chasing something for so long, seemingly like it's not even that long, you know, like,
Right.
but then all of a sudden it hits, and you know,
I so
you're
get
kind
that.
of overwhelmed with that feeling, you
Moment.
know, and it's a moment,
Me,
and
that was
it
me
has that
though.
emotional
That
component
was
to it.
that was me the first time I saw the Dead play Comes a Time in '91. I stood there in MSG and cried the whole time because I just always wanted that one. It's nice. It's such a good
We
thing.
all
That's why
know.
we go.
Yeah.
That's why we show up to get that moment. That's what we're fucking chasing. That's why we're wasting our time.
Yeah.
For that.
I love
moment.
it.
That's right.
Or we're wasting our time to see fucking Jedi Trey, which I gotta go fucking every day of the week with. I don't care if people feel like they ever play it. The song's just badass.
It is.
They can close every show with First Tube, and I will never complain.
Exactly. There isn't much to say about it.
No,
it is what it is.
I loved it. I love that it was there. It's like, okay.
We got really deep and went long, but I'm going to throw the expectation thing out to you. I think we all walked into this night thinking that this was going to be the, greatest show ever. And because it's Alpine, it's night 3, Wasn't? No. Was it a solid show? Yeah. Do expectations, I guess my question to you is, do you think that they change our experience in a way that makes us not enjoy it as much?
Yeah. If depending on how you can manage those expectations, right? We all have them. Like we were just saying, there's always things we want to hear. I think this kind of reminds me of, is that question, is the second half of tour usually better or worse? I think it's down to us in some cases and where we're at with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think expectations is a slippery slope, man, because
it is.
Everybody wants to hear a 30-minute tweezer,
right,
and a hood closer and a Yem encore and a bunch of bust outs in the first set. Like everybody has their ideal show, right? But the band's not going to play that every night. They're not going to play that every 5 nights.
No.
Right? And
you might get it once or twice a tour.
You might get it for your perfect ultimate show. You might get that, if you're like me, you get it every time you go. But
I'm going to be more like you.
If you go in and and that's the thing with you look at some of these. I think the complaints this tour have been focused more on
song
selection, and so like they take a Wave of Hope deep. Well, somebody looks at it on
MVP
paper
of the summer.
and they see the name Wave of Hope and they're like, that must have sucked, because the song's about hope. We talked about this on the lot a couple weeks ago, Kev.
But this too shall pass makes it not so much about hope but about perseverance, I guess.
Right, but Kev, how many people are looking at the message instead of just the name of the tune?
Nobody but me.
I'm just gonna be honest. I mean, but I fight that, and tweets
it's a battle, no doubt.
That I'm like, okay, here we go. But you're right. I mean, we have to at least acknowledging it is definitely step one.
It's the first step.
That's right.
Right, and and then the other part is, I think, repetition. So there's this
so many
selection, and like
many.
I'm even seeing some comments talking about that, and like like they've played a lot of these songs multiple times this tour. They've played Sand a bunch. They've played, like, I think Kevin, I think you said they played Sand something like 9 times this tour or something like that. And there was maybe 1 or 2 other songs that were in the 7-8 range.
Signal was up there free.
Yeah, Ghost they've played a number of times.
A mess of times. Yeah.
But like, do you really want Ghost to be like a song that has like a 45 show gap?
No,
everybody wants to get a Ghost, so like,
let everybody have their Ghost.
I think you just have to kind of have to go in with no expectations, because if you go in with expectations, you're gonna
be
you're
disappointed.
gonna be let down, man, because they're not gonna play
I've been
your
calling this
20-minute tweezer, your hood encore, whatever it is that you are chasing.
this summer has been the ghost victory lap for winning the Phish bracket earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
100%.
wouldn't
Where I'm
disagree
going
with that.
All right, so one more question, and then we're going to get out of here. Show of the tour.
Oh, man.
Off the cuff reaction. I'm going to go with the Man Night One because that tweezer into Cities, into Isabella, that whole thing was completely inspired.
Oh.
I still need another minute to think, Amanda. So if you're ready.
This one time. No.
Yeah, exactly. That's really hard for me because I don't necessarily think of shows in their entirety the way that
I'm with
my
you.
brain works. And that is not a cop out because I'm thinking of moments from Deer Creek. I'm thinking of moments from The Man. You know, Bethel had some great moments. And then, of course, the Leaves at Jones Beach. So to me.
Right. But like the Down with Disease, that show, that's all there was really when you think back.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that's the show, but for me, it's pieces of all of those. I don't know if there's one that I would say.
Maybe we need to come up. Maybe we need to make the question: what's your summer 22 playlist? 10 songs.
Now
that's an interesting question.
Yeah,
I think as far as the shows that I've listened to, and there's going to be an attendance bias here, but for me, I think AC Night One
Nice.
was my favorite, and I had both nights of Merriweather were also very, very good. Night one of Merriweather was
fantastic.
I mean, it was like a homecoming, dude. You know, like we hadn't been there in so long, and all of our friends and stuff were around. So that was kind of some of the ancillary stuff. But musically, I think start to finish, top to bottom show for me was that AC Night One. They played Sand. Sand's my favorite tune.
Right.
They took that Sigma nice. That Sigma was pretty good, and a good fun encore with the Sleeping Monkey. Free was, like we're like walking out listening to Free, like going down the boardwalk. Like it was just, I love them playing in AC. That's like,
I'm with you. All right, so we're gonna
great
go
tour overall, though, dude. I think I think they're playing really good. I can't wait.
I can't wait to see what happens at Dick's. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Check Amanda out over on Homegrown Radio Network. Did I get that right?
You got it. Crushed it.
Stub me down. Do you got a website? Is that where we go, or do we just find you on Twitter?
Yeah, just find us on Twitter, Stub_me_down. We're on Instagram at the same address. But we tweet out links to the podcast. We have one episode left on our season. Our we do try and do like 10 episodes a season, so we got one more coming up, which will be cool. And we got some cool things coming up. Already starting to plan for season 4. So
nice.
Just love
check us out.
Music,
check us out Wednesday. Check HF Pod out tomorrow. Love you guys, and everybody who watched. Thank you. It really means the world to us.
Wait, and just real quick before you cut out, Amanda.
Oh, hold on.
I know you're dressed up fancy.
Look at that.
I had to bust out the top hat.
All right, I was keeping this one. We went in the other direction. Nice.
Oh, Vandalay Industries. That's hot.
There you go.
Bye, guys.